How do you build a reputation when you've just started a contracting business? I started mine when I was 18. I was skinny, young, had no connections, and a weird last name. And honestly, if you saw me, I didn't really command any feelings of confidence about doing any sort of construction project. And after seeing me suffer, one of my mentors recommended 4 things that I should be doing in my business that I'm going to share with you. And after implementing these 4 things, in just 2 years, still as a lanky Arab dude, my reputation became so dominant that it forced out one of my competitors of 20 plus years out of what now became my neighborhood. They're called the 4 referability habits, and they were created by a massively successful entrepreneur named Dan Sullivan, who owns a company called Strategic Coach. And I'm going to break down these 4 habits and show you how you can implement them in your business. Now, I will give you a warning. When I first heard these, I nearly dismissed them because of their simplicity. In fact, as this video goes on, the points and the habits will get simpler and simpler. And at the same time, they're going to become more and more important for building your reputation. So let's dive in. Habit number 1. Show up on time. Now, the same reason why somebody might dismiss this as elementary is actually the same reason where if you do this correctly, you can absolutely dominate. But let's just make sure we're on the same page with what on time means. On time means if you have a meeting at 10 o'clock, you're not like pulling up to the driveway at 10 o'clock. It means that at 10 o'clock, your knuckles are hitting the door and you're getting the person, letting them know, hey, if there's any clocks in the house and they check it, you're right there at the front door. One of the things I quickly realized is that when you show up a little bit late to a bid or any sort of estimate, you're actually already starting out on the back foot. Really think about it. If this person has never met you, starting from even ground. Now you're going to try to climb your way out of it. Why should they write you a deposit and trust you with a property of their own when you can't even show up on time? Now you might say, well, Amber, just like any other contractor, I'm busy, things come up, materials are late, picking them up or anything like that. Yeah, that's fair. But what you're experiencing is also what every other contractor is experiencing. So if you can find a way to at least give a good heads up, calling the customer ahead of time, you're already leaps and bounds across anybody else, especially if they're getting other estimates. I remember this one time, I was shadowing one of my mentors who ran a very successful business. We were driving, I was learning how he was doing his bidding process. And we were driving to a bid that was supposed to start at something like 2 o'clock. And we're in the car, and Google Maps was saying that we were gonna be there for 2 o'clock. Cool, no problem. He turns down the music, looks at me, and he says, Amber, call the customer, let them know we're going to be 1 minute late. I was like that seems redundant. I mean, we're just going to be there on time. Why make it awkward? Why put ourselves on the back foot? We can just kind of sneak on by, or maybe they wouldn't notice. It's kind of what went through my mind. But he made it clear. Call them right now, let them know we're going to be 1 minute late. So I did. Called them, and I was like, hey, this is Amber. We're coming to the bid for 2 o'clock. We're going to be 1 minute late. The customer said, okay, thanks for the heads up. But you can kind of tell that they were like a little bit thrown off and confused, being like, what? Is that even real? How's somebody that accountable that even if it's a minute off, they're calling ahead of time? What I didn't know is that was actually ticking a box in the customer's head. Now, the logic for being 1 minute late is that things could happen, and you got to park the driveway, grab our material, walk up to the driveway. That stuff can take around a minute. So if you get there for exactly 2 o'clock, there's going to be a minute or two where you're just actually getting ready to go to the door. And that stuff mattered. When you call, even for something like 1 minute, it really shows to the customer how much you respect their time. And that is really valuable. And that stuff is what made my mentor, his name at the time, Michael, very successful and very respected with his customer. Now, funny enough, your reputation isn't this thing that just affects your customers. It also applies to your employees and subcontractors. When you show up on time, when you show up early to a job site, to a customer's house, you are signaling to everybody that that is how you want to respect the customer's time, that it's not okay to show up late. And so being a leader, something I've found is that the business is just this constant mirror. It mirrors back all your successes and all your flaws. If you're late, your team is late. If you're on time, your team will want to be on time and work their butts off to be on time. Same with your subcontractors. And so, yeah, we're not the type of company that would roll onto the job site at 8. We're there at 7:45, getting ready, knocking on the door, and starting work at 8 o'clock. The thing is, it doesn't take skill or talents to show up on time. Anyone can do it. But given that so few do, this habit will make clients love you and employees respect you. Habit number 2, do what you say you're going to do. Successful contractors have a high say-to-do ratio. For example, one of the contractors that is one of our clients that we're working with, he landed a $1.6 million development, hand-selected by the mayor. The guy was on the news. Reason being, he spent years building his reputation as the guy who just did what he said he was going to do. His word was his bond. And so when this development comes across and you're up for re-election and you need someone smart, you go on the person that you depend on the most. And that's how he landed this massive job. So that's an example of somebody who, when they started out, put a lot of energy into building their reputation. And when you're starting out a contracting business, that can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars down the line. And so there's 3 things that really happen when you become known as a person whose word can be counted on. And that becomes your reputation. Number 1, your customers trust you more. I mean, sure, you can start off by landing a small project, and then you say you're going to do it, you do it on time, you do it with the quality. Guess what? Customer's going to throw more money at you. Change order after change order. Now we want to do our kitchen. Let's do the backyard. You're going to become the go-to guy. And then when, they're having dinner parties and their friends are asking them about this new renovation that's happening, they're going to be excited to refer you to their neighbors because they have nothing to risk on their end. They just know, hey, if I send Mike, he's going to get the job done. And so there's something that most people just don't know. It's something called reputational risk. You want to make it easy for people to refer you. And you become risky to refer if you're unpredictable and your word is unpredictable. Number 2, your employees perform better. It's nice, it's inspiring, it's easy to work with a leader who you can depend on. When they say, hey, I'm going to make sure you have work 5 days a week, you just know, you rest easy. You get to focus on your craft. When they say something, it gets done. And so the environment that you can create for your team really stems from the stability that you can give them of your word. That's worth something. Number 3, and this one I wasn't expecting personally, but you start trusting yourself more. Every time you say you're going to do something, you do it. You build that trust in yourself, and that trust really translates into confidence. And when you stop doing these things, the moment you want to reorganize your truck, you want to launch a marketing campaign, you want to read this book, it's like you don't even trust yourself to do it. You become a person who has ambitions and goals that maybe one day they'll do. And if you can't trust yourself, that really translates into how you communicate with others. Your employees' confidences and their confidence will wane. Customers will doubt you. And ultimately, it just kind of sucks to doubt yourself. So you're also building a reputation here with yourself when you say you're going to do something and then do it. So how do you do it? How do you do that? Keep track of your word. Really start relating to your words as contracts. That made a big difference for me. And so if you're being prudent, any contract you make with a person should probably be written down, right? And so that's what I started doing. If I said I was going to do something, I would write it down. If I said I was going to be somewhere, the moment I would commit to that, I'd pull out my phone and immediately start planning. Okay, well, you want to go for brunch on Saturday at 12? Let me see what I'm doing on Saturday. Okay, I can't do 12. Let's do 12:30. And maybe that's because I'm driving down from somewhere and I knew I need that extra buffer in case there's traffic. I really start taking a look for ways to really track what I'm saying and then implementing it right away, and putting a structure in place so I can meet that contract. And when you really start doing that, something beautiful happens. And you might have actually seen this with some successful people that you surround yourself with. They're careful with what they say. You become a little bit nervous to say you're going to do something because you understand the heaviness of it, of how important it is to honor what you're going to say. And so you start saying no more. You start saying things like, I'm not sure I can commit to that. And ultimately, that's a step in the right direction, in my opinion. Habit number 3, finish what you start. We get paid when jobs are finished. Your team gets paid when jobs are finished. You don't want to be the guy with 6 job sites that are all at 95% completion. If you have multiple jobs that are at 95% and you only have a small deposit, then really most of your money is going to be tied up for 5% worth of work. If you have $100,000 out that you're owed to because this job is missing this one thing and that thing, then it's really costing you $100,000 to not solve these things. It's just a bad deal, and the deal gets worse and worse as the days go on. The client moves on with their lives, your payment gets pushed down on their list, and they forget about you more and more. And ultimately, it just becomes harder and harder to get back on the job site and finish the job. Every day that you don't wrap up those job sites is a day when your chances of collecting that money goes down. That's detrimental to the cash flow of your business, the morale of your team, and your reputation among customers. And ultimately, there are 2 sides to this. The first side is the client side. So one of the things that served me really well when jobs are reaching the 75% mark, when we're almost done, is I would call the crew on the job and I would let them create a punch list of all the items that need to get done before we close out that job. It's this final checklist. And guess what we do? We would then call the client and tell them, hey, look, Mr. Client, we have a checklist of these last pieces of projects that we're doing right here on the job site. Is there anything else that should be on this list? Then the client adds in their input. And then when we're 1 or 2 days away and we're about to wrap up that same day, we would make sure that the customer, the project manager, if we're doing giant commercial jobs, you make sure the person who's going to sign off on your work is there on the last day when the punch list is getting done for final touch-ups and details, because that is what's going to get you paid, is having the person there on the last day saying, hey, look, we need this here, let's do this there, and that way you can come to a completion with everybody on the same page. So really think about it. If you're trying to build your reputation, when you're doing massive commercial jobs, when you're in a customer's home, you really are their partner in this. And so by communicating at the 75% mark, by bringing them in on the last day, you're really building a reputation of being a cooperative, partner-like contractor. And that experience of feeling taken care of, being kept in the loop, is an experience that is worth a lot. And when the time comes at the dinner table and they ask, hey, who did this? They can actually, people don't remember what you talked about or what you did, but people will remember how you made them feel. And that feeling that they were taken care of, that is really what a reputation is. Now, there's another side to this, which is the business side. So yes, we talked about the client side with the job sites, but there's also projects that you need to do internally within your business, like putting in a piece of software, finishing a bid, rebuilding a website. You don't want to build a reputation of the owner who's busy. And this is something I'm constantly working on to eliminate as well. Is yes, there's a lot of things that need to get done. But if you say you're going to start on a project, you're going to have to make it a priority. So I'm very careful what I agree to. And if I do agree to it, let's say I'm rebuilding a website, I make sure that there's time in my week to make sure that it's done as fast as possible. Otherwise, your team's looking at you like, hey man, like we got to grow this business, we got to advance. Why aren't you getting it done? And if you're starting and finishing things halfway, then of course you're going to build a reputation with your team that, oh, Amber, he's just a busy guy. He's just so busy. Oh, this new software, it's probably going to take a year. The guy's just busy. And ultimately, who's that all about? It's all about you. It's not about the team. And so what I'm not saying here is don't do projects. What I am saying, if you are going to take on a project, make sure you're responsible in taking time and organizing yourself so when you start it, you finish it. Have it planned out a lot times in your week. Otherwise, again, that reputation with your team is going to get built. And then there's the other side of your reputation with yourself, is that whenever a good idea comes up and you know it's going to advance your business, there's just going to be that little side of you, this little voice inside your head, this little piece of you who's going to doubt if it's ever going to be implemented. And that is dangerous, especially as a small business trying to grow. Habit number 4, and this is by far the easiest and the most impactful, is saying please and thank you. One of the things that I learned from Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, is to have specific appreciation for those around you and how that can really go a long way. And this was puzzling when I first heard this, because I would say thank you. But what he was talking about, and what this habit is really about, is sincere and specific appreciation for your customers and your employees. So if you finish up a job site and you know that somebody went above and beyond, they spent an extra couple of hours in the evening, they may skip something personal to get this project over the line. At the end of the job, instead of saying, hey, thanks for doing this, really pull them aside. And what I find really helps for this exercise is really put yourself in their shoes. They missed something. They stayed a couple of hours in the evening to help you and help your company reach its goals. Like, be genuine in your appreciation. Hey, Bob, I noticed a couple of times in this project, you were outside your comfort zone. You spent more hours than you said you were gonna, and you even missed something. So I just want to let you know, man, I know you've made those sacrifices. I see them, and I just want to let you know, man, I really, really appreciate it. Can't do a lot of these things without you. Now, something like that coming from a good place not only makes the person feel respected and appreciated, but it also enforces that behavior so that next time a project goes long, the person's not going to resent you or like have some hate in their heart that they're going above and beyond, because they actually know it's making a difference. People like to make a difference with others, and that's just a massive thing to look for. And then on the client side, I mean, yes, they're paying you money. Yes, you're doing your job. We all get that. That's like the bare minimum, man. But there's another layer to this, which is like they could be letting you in their home. They had to like get a nanny. They might have needed to stay at a hotel. A commercial project manager was really stressing and he has like a promotion around the way, and something went wrong with the subs that didn't include you. Just pulling those people aside, like the homeowner, saying, hey, look, I know this was a project that you've been wanting to work on. Just want to say thank you for moving this. Thank you for doing that. I know you probably went through a lot of trouble to make this work for us. I want you to know that I noticed and I appreciate it. And that cooperation of all of us is really what got this project over the line and have it look so beautiful. So just want to say, we can't be doing what we did without your help. So thank you. And with the commercial project, it's like, hey, I know we got delays, your budgets got cut, and these subcontractors were giving a problem. But I noticed that you were still nice and gracious with me. You still gave me heads up, and you never had like a breakdown or like yelled at me because of the stress that you were experiencing. And I'll just let you know, I work with a lot of construction managers. Like, I really appreciate that. We're not brown-nosing here, and we're not blowing smoke up people's butt. We're just being good humans. We're just recognizing the efforts that people are going through. There's nothing for us to gain. It's done. The job's over. You will get paid. So what we are doing is just meeting people heart to heart, because ultimately it's all about these relationships. And people appreciate when you say please and thank you. Please, Mr. Customer, can you move your car? thank you for moving your car. Just simple things like that go a long way to make the person feel like a part of your family, that they're a part of something larger. One of the biggest problems that I see in the contracting industry when clients come to us, contractors come to us, become our clients, is they're not getting paid on time when jobs are done, and employees seem to be quitting left and right. If we treated customers with this respect, said please and thank you, went above and beyond, and genuinely had conversations where we met people heart to heart through this principle, people will pay. People will work with you to find solutions. You wouldn't end up in court. And when you look at employee turnover, people leave if they don't feel like they belong. And there's a lot of topics there that I can discuss about why people leave. But one of the main reasons people might leave is because they don't feel appreciated for the effort, the sacrifice, the work that they're putting in. Now, I hear it all the time when I say this, but Amber, it's the bare minimum. It's what a man's duty is. They show up, they do the work, they shut up, and they move on. Look, I get it. Maybe once upon a time where, jobs were scarce and communities were more tight-knit, that was that. But now people have options. People know what they can get. There's other businesses out there that don't know what they're doing, paying way more money for these positions. So if we want to keep people around, it's the intangibles. It's not just the money and the benefits. It's the pleases and the thank yous, letting people know that they're truly appreciated for their work. This, by far, has been extremely important for the success of all my businesses and continues to be something that I put a lot of effort in, whether it's my suppliers, subs, employees, customers, any person who interacts with me, I want to leave them better than how I found them. And so these are the 4 habits. Show up on time, do what you say, finish what you start, and say please and thank you. And if you've made it this far, thank you. There's a lot of options of where you can spend your time, a lot of other flashy videos, but you chose to spend it here with me. So thank you very much. I make these videos to try and help you as much as possible on your journey here. And so if you found this video helpful, check out one of these 2 videos that others seem to have also appreciated. And thank you for watching.